Okay,
All right.
ladies and gentlemen, this is Danny Dee1 Davis Jr. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you today, especially after an amazing win. Probably, I imagine, one of the best weeks for Extreme Couture. Is that too
Definitely.
much to say, or?
Oh no, I mean, it was definitely was a big shock to the world. I mean, we have faith and we have belief in our guy. He still had to go out there and fight the fight. And when that, decision was read, it was amazing. It was definitely one of the best wins I've been a part of. And the whole gym was super happy. We came back right away on Monday. Sean came to pro practice, brought the belt to share with everybody, and everybody was just super stoked for him.
When he brought the belt, was it already duct taped up? Was that already
No, actually, that was right before. I think just at that time at the gym, just showing it, passing around. Somehow something happened, and then it must have broke at that point because yeah, right when he got home, that's kind of when he posted that video right after leaving the gym. Yeah.
awesome? Awesome. Now, I guess getting into fight week when you were there, um, were you at all concerned about the amount of time that like you use to acclimate? Because that the jet lag, all that sort of stuff can be major factors.
Oh, most definitely. That's always a concern, especially when you're traveling so far and the time zone is way off and you're on the opposite side of the equator. Luckily enough, we actually left Thursday the prior week in Vegas, which would have been Friday in Sydney, and we touched down Saturday morning on Sydney. So it gave us a couple extra days. Normally, the UFC will like ship fighters off like Monday to arrive by Tuesday, and then that's the fight week. So we got there good Saturday, Sunday, Monday, about 4 days early, before we were even required to check in with the UFC. And that was just a smart move on Sean's end. So we all packed up, went there, took the first 2 days to kind of get adjusted, getting our sleep right. Cause man, those first 2 days are crazy. Like you go to sleep and then you're waking up at like 3, 4 in the morning. Like, what do we do? Trying to sleep. And it was kind of hard, but we got there early Saturday, tried to stay up all day, went to sleep at a normal time, still woke up early. But I think those first few days were crucial to the whole process of us getting adjusted and getting rid of the jet lag.
Hmm. And another thing was I was watching through the embeds again, and I saw that you guys went to the Blue Mountains National Park, and it was
Mm-hmm.
pretty much you, the cameraman, and Sean, his girlfriend. So what
Yeah.
was that sort of like? Because I feel like a lot of the conversation has been about Sean's girlfriend, KJ, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what comes up on embedded, and how much that's helped him. So what was that like when it was basically the three of you?
It was cool because we still had a few days, to where we really didn't have any responsibilities towards the UFC. Like, he didn't have to do any kind of media or anything like that. So, I never been to Australia. I don't think they have either. So we were like, you know what, we're here. Let's take advantage of it. I believe KJ actually looked up some things to do. She found the Blue Mountains. And Sean was like, let's do it. So he rented a car. That was kind of an experience because you're driving on the opposite side of the car, right? So
Mm.
there's a few times we're on the freeway and he kind of like bumping into the side of the road. But besides that, he did pretty good. But yeah, it was fun. Like leading up to the fight, you don't just be thinking about the fight. So we were there, we were enjoying ourselves, enjoying Australia. Went to the Blue Mountains, crazy hike, like down into a valley. Sean jumped in the waterfalls, pretty much like an ice bath. Um, fresh air, just kind of taking it all in and just not even thinking about the fight, just enjoying the moment. Um, and then on the way back, like after the waterfall, you had to go up all these stairs. So it was like a semi little workout. We all got a sweat. Even the cameraman had a good sweat going. But it was fun. It was fun to just get out in nature, get some good vibes going, and just shooting the shit. Just cracking jokes and having a good time. And KJ, she's a sweet girl. She's pretty down to earth as well. She's easy to get along with. They have a great relationship. I love their dynamic and their synergy with each other. And Sean's my guy. I've been with him for a while, but was first his training partner for a while. We trained a lot together, and then earlier this year stepped into a coaching role with him. And man, it's just we were enjoying ourselves. Like I said, soaking up the sun and just having a blast.
I guess to expand on that coaching role, because that's one of the primary reasons I really wanted to hear from you. We heard from Chris Curtis saying, "Look, man, you gotta give you," and this is again like you gotta give credit to Danny Davis Jr. Like, boom, right away, shout out Eric Nixick on Luke Thomas's show, Danny Davis Jr. So I really wanted to talk to you about this coaching role because I don't think that Sean has that gold strap around his belt without you. I really don't. I think I'd love to hear from you about, that connection, you and Sean in the training room.
Yeah, most definitely. For me, it's still, coming in the past, being a fighter and coming out of the fight and actively fighting for a while. For me personally, it's actually still kind of hard to receive some of the compliments. Yes, I'm sure I was part of his camp, and we've been drilling a lot of these things over and over. Not even just this fight, but the last three fights. Um, so it is kind of odd dynamic. People congratulate me, and it's hard for me to receive because I know at the end of the day, Sean is in there. He's the one fighting. He's the one making these split second decisions. But Eric told me, what, you got to just soak it all in. And even Chris, Chris, I've trained a lot with Chris. Me and him worked together. I was with him at in Vancouver for a fight that unfortunately got stopped early, where he couldn't continue. But man, I guess now, I feel very appreciative because these are high level guys. I'm still training with the guys. I'm still helping coach, and for them to, congratulate me, it just builds my confidence that they trust my eye on the sport and they respect the things that I have to say. So, you know, watching the fight with Sean and Izzy, in hindsight, it was like all the things me and him were working on. All these moments, just me and him in the cage, a lot of drills, like hitting the pads, throwing kicks at him, showing different kind of kicks. Eric, breaks down film very well and, pointing out some highlights, like when Izzy would drop step into the opposite stance, what to look out for, and all these things played a key factor in Sean's success. So, you know, being on the coaching role, like when that announcement was made and he won the belt, I was super excited. I felt like I won the belt, which in a sense I did. I won too with him. So sharing that moment was like nothing other. It's probably a highlight of my career, and I've had 20 pro fights in the past, but just being there for that moment with especially one of my best friends, Eric, and being there with Sean's longtime coach, Zarate, who's been with him since day one, and KJ even stepping into the cage, his manager, Lance, like all of us sharing that mutual moment, that was phenomenal. So yeah, I enjoy the coach role. It's obviously not as hard as fighting, and your guy has to have some trust in you, and you get just as nervous because you may be calling out things, you may be seeing things, and it's one of those things, like if he lost, okay, now sometimes the money's on us, right? If he wins, like, oh yeah, we look like geniuses. So I just try to take the wins with the losses. Definitely enjoy those moments when you win. But and obviously this for a championship belt, so it's going to be a little more heavier than any other win. But you got to keep a sound mind. You got to stay in a balanced state because you just you got to take the ups just like the downs. But I was super happy for him, seeing all the things we've worked on come to fruition, and he did an excellent job.
I want to get back to the technical aspects first, but I guess because you mentioned how good the win felt, one of the things is that is very attracting to a lot of people for Sean is that he's very rough around the edges, says a lot of stuff. But I felt that watching that moment, getting that belt around his waist and the post fight interview, and oh, he was lost for words, all that stuff. And that was almost a different side of Sean, right? I feel like it's a side that it's kind of hard to come out.
Yeah, definitely. He's shown some vulnerability right there. I believe he was just as shocked as the rest of the world. And he's been at the sport for a long time since a young kid. I think 17 was his first professional fight. Actually, ironically, my pro debut, like it was a small king of the cage back in 2009. He was actually like a co-headliner already, like I think at 17, 18, or 18 or 19, whatever the case may be. But he was super young at the time, so that came full circle. But Sean has had a rough upbringing. We actually have similar pasts where absentee dads and just that tough street life in one form or another. Dysfunctional families. So I can kind of heart with him on that. But I think in that moment it was just that realization of all these over a decade. Almost decade and a half body of work come to fruition, and people discounting him and not believing that he could do it. And the great thing about Sean is like he knows what he can do. You know, we know what he can do in that cage. We see it in practice every day. And he treated that fight just like any other fight. You know, it's just a fight, and he got in there, he did that thing. And yeah, when he won the belt, that was one of the happiest moments I generally seen him. I mean, he's always a happy guy, regardless. He's always cheerful. You know, he doesn't let things get him down. You know, if the worst thing for him to happen to him was to lose a fight, that's nothing to him. You know, he's experienced worse. But yeah, I think in that moment he had to soak it up, and he was super happy. He felt the feelings, he felt those emotions. You know, he felt shocked, he felt happy, he had tears of joy. So, you know, that was kind of cool to see my man have that for his own self, you know, and his own heart.
Yeah, you touched on the doubt, and I don't think that the doubt is ill-founded. Just beyond narratives of Adesanya's greatness and things like this, if we can dive into the stats a little bit, Adesanya is primarily known for having a superior leg kick game to many guys in middleweight, and we've seen in some of Sean's past fights. Just if I can read out some numbers for you, in the Hermanson fight, Hermanson landed 51 of his 54 leg strikes at a 94% accuracy. In the Uriah Hall fight, he landed 18 of 19 leg kicks, 95% accuracy. The Brendan Allen fight, 12 of 13 successful leg kicks, 92% accuracy. In this fight against Adesanya, he only landed 34 of his 57 attempted leg kicks at a 60% accuracy. So you're talking about going from basically free reign on Sean's legs when you kick to now almost half, 60% against a guy who's known for that. I feel like
Yeah.
that's sort of where I really want to know about your coaching with him. And because that's clearly something that happened in the gym, drilling leg kick defense. Can you walk me through, like, how do we see that massive improvement
Oh
statistically?
yeah, yeah. So you know, we all knew that coming into this fight, and you know, before MMA, I actually had a pretty extensive Muay Thai amateur career. I was a four-time amateur Muay Thai champion, and I was like 18-1-1 as an amateur Muay Thai fighter, and decided to go pro. You know, in the gym, everyone knows when I was sparring, I throw a lot of kicks. I got just good fundamentals with when it comes to kickboxing. So knowing that and knowing what Sean needed to work on, knowing we were facing Izzy, every time we're holding pads, you know, I put my shin pads on, and we're doing power and we're semi-sparring. You know, I'm giving them real looks. I'm holding pads. I'm throwing low kicks at him. I'm throwing swivel kicks at him. I'm throwing or question mark kicks at him. I'm throwing inside leg kicks. I'm throwing body kicks. You know, so just keeping that element of surprise and constantly keeping kicks on his mind. He started to make checking and blocking kicks a little bit more muscle memory. You know, Sean already has a great understanding of range, you know, in a fight, like how far or close he is. And he does have a great tight defense with his hands. And, you know, sometimes one can be a little discounting towards the leg kicks, like, oh, I could take a kick, I could take a kick. But, you know, with someone like Izzy, those things will add up quickly, you know. So we wanted to make sure that we were building muscle memory and just getting reps on him, seeing kicks, blocking kicks. And he did that, you know. And I think it was just, again, we would hit pads at least 30 minutes, pretty much 5-minute rounds twice a week, plus watching the sparring, you know, same thing, 10 rounds a week. And we did this for weeks on end. And man, it paid off, and he did develop that new kind of muscle memory.
Another thing I noticed with your pad work on the embedded episode is that you were calling out for the combo 1-1-2, jab, jab, cross, and all of that. I think that because I also follow boxing quite extensively, and in boxing, huge emphasis on doubling up your jabs, even tripling up your jabs. But that's not so much the emphasis in MMA. I feel like right now in striking about how important a great jab can be. Were you thinking about how important that would be in disrupting the rhythm with doubling the jab?
Definitely, you know, especially when you're going against a longer fighter, right? And Izzy tends to pull his head back a lot. So, if you just step in with that 1-2, sometimes you can land a little short, So doubling up that jab really gets you into that pocket to where that right hand can land. And even if he did miss the right hand, just being able to consistently get into his face and disrupt his movements. And Sean's a pocket fighter. He likes to stay right in front of your face and continue to apply that pressure, He has a great jab regardless. So he always likes to stick that jab. At the same time, on the flip side of that, we knew we didn't want him to get over himself. Sometimes he has a tendency to get over himself, like, stepping forward with his rear leg and kind of getting his feet together, because we knew that's where he would be vulnerable, and Izzy could potentially catch him with something crazy, with one of those, leaning back hooks that he throws a lot. So, Sean did a few doubles, but he also just did some 1-2s, and he just kept it tight, which I was happy he didn't get over it. So that was the most important thing. But yeah, I think in MMA, that double jab is very crucial, especially with the small gloves, especially if you're going someone that's a little bit longer than you. Some other things that I like is a 1-1-2, but where you're mixing up the levels with the jab to the head, jab to the body, coming back upstairs with the right hand. That's one of my favorites. And they're just very sound fundamental combinations. And I think sometimes, fundamentals wins fights. As they say, the old saying goes, just keep it fundamental,
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously where that proved most true is the end of that first round, the most shocking part of the whole fight, the thing that most people are talking about, in which Sean almost finished Adesanya into that first round. What were the feelings going through your mind watching that? Because even if you maybe thought Sean could win, the fact that he had such a huge moment catching Adesanya, it was certainly one of great note.
So when I saw that, definitely got super excited. Definitely almost jumped out of my chair, but I knew it wasn't quite over until the referee steps in, right? That's kind of old adage that we're all kind of trained to, whether you're on the receiving side or the attacking side, right? You don't stop until the referee jumps in. So got super excited, but, I kept looking, and Izzy stood up. Sean was doing the punches against the fence. Izzy was covered up, and I thought it was actually getting close to being stopped, but just kind of kept looking, Goddard gave Izzy a little more time. Izzy did put the thumbs up. So, him being the champ, he recovered well. And I thought it was just, to let the fight keep playing out. However, that was a big exclamation point in the fight. And once Sean got that knockdown, I think we all felt a little bit more confident for this fight. I think a lot of people were a little shocked, the spectators watching, but us in the corner, and even Sean, I think I was like, okay, now we got this dude's number. We know we can land, we know we can hurt him, and vice versa. Now he knows that Sean can land a good punch, almost a fight-ending punch, right? So I feel like from that point on, Izzy, was a little bit more timid to enter some of these exchanges. It was like a lot of one-offs, like a big kick, a big punch, not too much just letting it go with big combinations, right? And from there, Sean started to find his range a little bit better, was a little more comfortable stepping in even further, and creating some exchanges, right? He had to make it kind of gritty and violent. But yeah, just that first knockdown definitely put the wind in our sails, and we kept it going, kept that momentum throughout the rest of the fight.
I think a point of concern though was that in that second round, it was Adesanya's best round. He slowed down the pace. Sean was trying to cut him off, trying to track him, but wasn't really landing a lot of offense. Adesanya was more point fighting in that round and winning a sneaky round. Was there any concern that maybe you lost some momentum from that first round, that we need, Sean's got to get into that next gear. You can't let Adesanya coast.
So I do agree. We all felt like Izzy won the second round for sure. Even just there in that moment, you just feel it. At the same time, I know Sean himself was also collecting data. He still kept the pressure. Izzy was able to get off some offense, but Sean constantly kept the pressure and kept tight defense. And sometimes that's his style, to just kind of see what the guy's doing and wear him down, because backing up is hard. Like after a while, that stuff wears on you. And we all knew we still had 3 more rounds after this. And we also felt that as the fight progressed, Izzy would slow down even more, we knew we still had the wrestling card in our back pocket as well. And if we were going to wrestle, it was going to be those later rounds 3, 4, and 5. If we were going to wrestle, that was the time. So I think at that point, you never want to give away a round in a championship round. However, I feel Sean just kept it close. Yes, we did lose the round, but we didn't lose a lot of momentum. Izzy didn't gain a lot of momentum. If anything, he might have brought it back slightly balanced. But I think from there, I remember in the corner us telling him, "Hey, we got to stay on the pedal." And then, he continued on it in the third round. And I feel he secured the next 3 rounds, which I believe the judges felt the same thing. They said 4-1. I don't know if it's the exact same 4. It should have been, in my opinion. But yeah, after that round, Sean just got back on the pedal, made some small adjustments. Because one thing about Izzy is he is a super intelligent and smart fighter. So he was able to recover, and maybe that second round he was looking for some setups, and which he was, and Sean did a great job keeping a tight defense and negating some of that, and even adjusting over Izzy's adjustments. And now that third round, we kind of kept going full force.
Looking back on it, is this almost maybe the perfect result? If it ended in that first round, you know how a lot of the media is and narratives work, that a lot of people would say, oh, that first round knockout, wow, you caught Adesanya. It's not like you beat him, but it's almost a perfect result. You had a good first round, a second round, Adesanya showed he's capable. 3, 4, 5, you proved your guy was better, at least on the night, guaranteed. How do you feel about this result compared to what could have been?
Yeah, obviously we would have loved that first round, TKO. But I agree. It showed he potentially could have TKO'd him and got him out of there in the first round. But then now, obviously, it warrants like a almost automatic rematch, right? And then Izzy came back with strong second round, and then Sean just dominated the next 3. So I remember it was round 4 going into round 4. I remember looking across, and Izzy had like the wide eye, not like super wide, but just kind of like that eye of concern, like shit, I'm in the trenches right now. Doesn't mean he couldn't have did whatever. He's still a champ at that time. But I just saw that look of concern, and I think Sean continued to pour it on for those 3 rounds, and winning a unanimous decision just totally showed his caliber of fighter, showed him completely dominating a truly dominant champ, and took the belt, So, they say it may be a rematch. I get it, but how many times is it get a rematch? I would actually personally like to see Izzy versus Duplessis. I would like to see that story play out. And I think Sean just fought 3 times in 9 months. I would like to see him take his full time before the next fight. I think it's normally about 6 months. I hope he gets that full time. At the same time, he's a cycle. He's ready to go. Since his toe heals, so he'll be ready to go in a month and a half. But I think he should enjoy his winnings, and just see we'll see what the UFC plays out.
When talking about other great upsets in MMA's past, we've got Matt Serra versus GSP, Amanda Nunes losing to Juliana Pena. A lot of those fights have a certain element. Now, you have to give fighters full credit for how much they put on the line. But in Serra GSP, there's arguments, there's talk about, well, look, anyone can get caught by a big shot. But I feel like this might be the biggest upset of all time, where it was just a dominant decision win. I would say that maybe the only other fight you can go to where it was that sort of one guy just showed a better class was if you look at TJ Dillashaw, Renan Barao. A lot
Yeah.
of these other massive upsets were maybe a big punch or a big moment. What are your thoughts on that? About how it was just a different dynamic?
Yeah, I definitely because it's true in MMA. You got small gloves on. Anything can happen. Anyone can get caught. Right? That's the old adage. Anybody can get caught, and that's completely true. Um, Izzy being one of the most dominant champions in the weight class for the past several years, and for Sean just come out and display a master class. If you saw the betting odds, I'm not a betting man, but I saw those odds. I live here in Las Vegas, so you can't help but to notice them. But yeah, to see those odds, see what everyone was saying online, see even the week of the fight, UFC's interviewing different fighters, and everyone rightfully has their opinion. It's no disrespect. You got to take it with a grain of salt. But no one really, only a few have vouched for Sean, especially if you train with them. I think Dan Hardy said in an interview about the stylistically several weeks before the fight that Sean had a potential chance, but from that potential chance turning into a complete obliteration, oh man, that's got to be one of the biggest upsets, one of the best upsets ever in the whole history of the sport. I can't think of any other upset to where it was this dramatic, and happened to a great guy. Sure, he's a little off his rocker sometimes, but he always means well. And I'm happy to see it happen for my man, Sean.
Another thing I'd love to touch on, and I'm sure you have really good firsthand accounts of this, is I'm not seeing enough talk about the weight cut because from the media I'm able to witness, Sean on the scale was talking about how bad that extra pound was, kept mentioning it. DC, I think understandably so, was basically just saying like, "Good luck, champ. I don't want to waste your too much time with this media stuff. Go rehydrate." What was that cut like? I know that I saw Charles Stoll from the helping
Yeah,
out with the weight cut, but for a guy like Sean, who's a former welterweight, so the narrative isn't exactly, oh, well, he's big for middleweight. He used to compete lower. What was that? What was that like during the weight cut process? Did you have any
yeah.
concerns about the fight going forward? Sorry.
Well, you know, anyone who's cut a significant amount of weight knows that cutting weight sucks. Um, in my opinion, the weight cut went at like a normal weight cut. It went pretty smooth. The last pound did take a little time to come off. At the same time, the way Sean did it, he did it all in one stretch, right? So when you do it all in one stretch, sometimes that last pound is harder to get off. But Sean's a trooper, man. Like when that last pound wasn't coming off in the little sauna blanket, he took a few minutes off. He put the plastic on, and to be honest, we went downstairs to the gym, and he started running. I was like, no, I don't want you to run. Let's go back to the hotel. I don't want you to run. But he started running. I was like, I know I can run it off. Right. He started running for about 10 minutes, got the sweat going, came back to the room. It wasn't a whole bunch of sweat. So we had him go back into the sauna blanket, 20 more minutes, and then the pound was gone. So just for someone to have that mental fortitude at that stage when you've cut 15 pounds already, that again, that shows his mental fortitude. It shows his heart. It shows his spirit. Normally, one would cut a little bit the night before, save a little bit for the day of, and that cut goes pretty smooth. However, we knew we had a late weigh-in, so he opted to wake up kind of early and just start the cut then. Everything prior to that last pound was fine and dandy. And then right when you step off the scale, you're still depleted. You're still a little loopy. So for media to kind of jump at him right away in his face, I knew what he was experiencing, and DC obviously knew what he was experiencing. Even DC's fought at light heavyweight plenty of times, so that first hour off the scale, even 2 hours, you're not back to you still trying to hydrate. He barely got a bottle of water in him, so yeah. In a sense, it was kind of out of context where you see him in that state. He looks a little off, and people are thinking, "Oh, he's not going to be good." But man, next day he was fine. He recovered well. I feel next go around, he'll do it just the traditional way because hopefully the fight will be here in the States and everything will be the traditional time. Weighing in the morning, start the weight cut the evening before, finish the last couple pounds that morning, and go weigh in. But yeah, if you've experienced that weight cut, you know how it makes you feel. Sure, in that moment, it looked a little weary, but he recovered like a champ, and here he is on the other side of that weight cut with the belt.
I noticed that the on the scale he's actually quite cut. I know that during maybe in like the octagon it's not like too pronounced of like ab inserts, but I noticed on the scale very drawn in at the waist. It seems like he rehydrates quite a bit. It seems like he fills in a lot. What do you think he was walking in the octagon at size wise?
Yeah, I think he did kind of come in a little bit more than normally. Like I think he came around 205 or 206. Where normally he would probably walk back in there about 200. And And I think that just has to do with he had a fast turnaround, right? Like he fought July 1st or that first weekend of July, that first card of July. Um, Won that fight. He actually was right back in the gym, but Sean doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't smoke weed. He doesn't do drugs. And that's one thing I love about him, He never has, but he does like to eat, he does like the good burger. He does like some baked cookies, he loves to eat. So when he's after a fight, that's how he's going to celebrate, especially at least for that first week, right? And after you starve your body, your body's gonna hold on to these extra calories when you kind of like feast it. So I feel like just going to this camp with a short turnaround. There's a period of time we didn't know if we were gonna get the fight or not. I think he was just enjoying life, and we started the week a little bit higher than normal, but he handled it like a true professional, and he cut the weight, got it down. And then when he rehydrated, he was where he was. He definitely looked a little thicker, a little solid, big bones. And but at the end of the day, sometimes those cuts affect a fighter's performance. He was the same Sean. He still had that. He still had that conditioning. He still had that push. He had that energy. So, man, hats off to him.
I guess a final thing I'd like to close on is I have a quote from you before your World Series of Fighting 9 fight, in which you said, I don't care if they have all the footage in the world of me because I don't care what I did in the past. One is what I do in the moment. Do you think that that sort of played true in this fight? Because a lot of people talk about how Sean's very one-dimensional, but it kind of didn't matter what he did in the past, It's kind of.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, I totally forgot about that saying, but I do recall it now. It kind of gives me shivers hearing you say that. And that's the thing about fighting, and that's the pureness of it. It's like you can see something over and over, and you can study people, and you can talk all this shit or whatever, right? But when the two men are in that cage, now you're experiencing it, and that's one thing about Sean Strickland is like I've sparred him many a times, and I've seen other people spar him many a times, and it kind of looks, oh, he's has his hands low. He kind of looks simple, but you don't realize that range. Like when he's a little more upright, he's a little bit further. He has good defense. His jab comes out quick. So all these unknowns you can't really prepare for until you actually spar him or fight him. And sometimes when you fight him, it's a little bit too late. And that's what I mean when I said that quote. It's just like you can watch all the footage in the world, right? But once you experience it, that's something truly different, and you can only be prepared so much. But once you're in that cage fighting, there's a lot of other variables. Sure, drilling and practice happens and whatnot. But when you're in a fight, you got adrenaline, you got nerves, you got a little bit of fear, healthy fear. You got some people have ego, some people have anger, all these emotions going. Some people, the crowd are watching, you got the lights on you. So there's all these things to combat. So yeah, one can be as prepared as they want, but when you get into that cage, that's where the true test lies. And that's where we see what happens from all these variables. I think the game's all about the variables, and once you're in that cage, that's the true testament.
Yeah, that's no truer words have been spoken, I think. One other thing I'd like to get your insight on. So, Embedded tries to take viewers into the world of what's happening fight week and happenings. Is there anything I don't know if you watch all the Embeddeds, but do you have any sort of firsthand account, something that maybe we don't know, but it would be a fun story, something interesting that went on that we don't know about?
In Embedded, uh one thing was, so Sean likes to almost spar right up to the fight. I mean, he even sparred me the night semi spar in the back before about to walk out. He likes to do 2 or 3 hard rounds where where I'm trying to fucking like hit him, take his head off sparring. Obviously I got my shin pads on and whatnot, but he needs to feel that before going into the fight. However, the week of the fight, we spent some time at the UFC Gym Signature there in Sydney downtown, a couple-minute walk from our hotel. And there was the other gentleman that fought on the card,
Anton
Anton.
Turkalj?
Yeah, yes.
The
So
pleasure
Sean
man.
wanted to spar. Yeah, the pleasure man. Yeah, he was a great gentleman, by the way. Him and his coach, they're awesome. And Sean wanted to spar someone a little bit taller, so you reached out to them, or I don't know how they can't got connected, but Sean hit me up. Hey, I got someone to spar. Send me the name. I looked the guy up. Oh, he's on the card. I was like, okay, look, he's good style. Um, and we got to the gym, and they both sparred. You know, they sparred pretty hard, like controlled. They were both fighting. They knew that, so they were pulling some punches. But it was just a fun time, like watching those two spar. And Sean would stop sparring, give him some tips right there. Like, hey, you got to do this. You got to do that. You know, then the next day they grappled. So that was kind of fun to see. The embedded in the show too much of that. Thankfully, I think Sean asked for them not to see it because you just don't want to see what we were working on. So that was pretty funny. Besides that, I would just say when we were driving into the Blue Mountain, just Sean hitting that curb and scratching up the hubcap on the rental car. That was pretty funny too. Yeah.
Great. I think let me check here. I talked about that. Yeah. Look, I've had tremendous time talking with you. I feel like this was a great experience. Again, thank you for giving me the time of your day. I understand
Um,
Extreme Go Tour, real estate. You got a lot going on. But I
yeah.
think you need to give yourself some more credit. I think guys like Chris Curtis, everyone else, they're giving you credit for a reason. So, yeah, great to get insight from you, and thank you for talking to me today.
Hey, thank you for having me, Phil. I really appreciate it. Yeah, let's keep the same rolling.
All right, great. We'll be in touch. I'll let you know when this is up and all that sort of stuff. And take care.
Thanks. Much love. Peace.
Bye.